So hey guys, what's up? So welcome to my news channel. So starting from the first news, India has a problem hunger. The dip in the hunger index must sound alarm bells. India is languishing at the 102 spot among the 117 countries in the global hunger index. That was released by Concern Worldwide and aid agency on Wednesday also. World Food Day, the country is ranking in 8th spot below Pakistan, below Bangladesh, China. The only country with a population size similar to India is ranked 25. The GHI uses indicators such as undernourishment, child stunting, child wasting, and child mortality to calculate the levels of hunger and undernutrition. And India's score of 30.3 means it suffers from a level of hunger that is serious. There are two aspects of the 2019 GHI report that should worry the government. One, India has the highest child wasting rate of any country. Wasting, it means low weight for a given height, is a strong predictor of a mortality among children under the age of 5. Second, the child stunting rate, meaning low height for a given age due to insufficient nutrient intake, is also very high at 37.9%. This is alarming, but because a sound foundation is critical for the development of a human being. Despite the nutrition crisis, which can also take up the intergenerational dimensions, the allocation for children in the 2019-2020 Union budget has only shown a marginal increase of 0.05%, going up from 3.24% in the last fiscal to 3.29% in the current fiscal, with a current grant of 91644.29 crore. The center should take into account the new threat that the GHI report has indicated, climate change, which will impact food security. This means that the standard inputs to tackle stunting and wasting of children, improving sanitization facilities, providing clean water, better maternal health, and early childhood nutrition will not be enough. Further investments are needed to help farmers to help carry out context-specific strategies that will strengthen food and nutrition security. One key aspect of the adaptation strategy would be to secure the land and water rights, including customer rights of indigenous people and rural communities, because climate change will lead to competition for resources, and the weakest and the marginalized cannot be left alone to tackle the challenge that can affect one of the basic blocks of life, food. So move to the next news. Why women's representation matters. Political parties want the women vote but do not want to share power with them. There is now substantial political literature to suggest that having women political representatives aid the case of gender equality, not only in this because women deserve equal rights of representation as men, but because they are sensitive to issues which at best either escape the extension of male representatives or at worst are ignored deliberately due to embedded patriarchal structures. This was the rationale behind the Women's Reservation Bill, providing 33% reservation to women in legislative bodies, which has been languishing in Parliament for decades. It has also the rationale behind the reservations for women in panchayat bodies. And while the initial trend may have been male political leaders ruling by proxy, the panchayat experience has enabled women to assert themselves, raise local issues, get groomed as leaders, and get empowered. That is why it is disappointing to see that political parties, despite paying lip service to the issue, still do not put up an adequate, let alone equal number of women candidates in elections. Take Haryana, where gender inequalities are rampant, most visibly manifested in the skewed sex ratio. Hindustan Times reported on Thursday that in the upcoming assembly polls, the BJP has fielded 22 women candidates in 90 seats. The Congress has put up 10 candidates, the Indian National Lok Dal has 15 candidates, and there are only 23 independent women candidates out of 343. Men's make up over 90% of the candidates. Parties have increasingly begun to recognize the power of women vote, but it is not translating into giving them space in the power structure. It is indeed a positive that the 16th Lok Sabha has the highest number of women members of parliament, but it remains way below what their demographic share would dictate. The assembly polls indicate that the battle for women representation will be long and hard. So move to the last news. What we can do to tackle the extreme weather events. Buying a sea-facing flat in any coastal megacity in India may bring in challenges. Warm climate scientists, the recent Government panel on climate change special report on oceans and cryosphere is a changing climate made important revelations about the changing characteristics of the sea. It shows that the cryosphere, the frozen part of our planet, plays a critical role in sustaining life on Earth. People around the world depend on these systems for basic sustenance. However, climate change is causing adverse consequences across these systems. The report warns that these changes will continue and some of them will accelerate in the near future. The report warns that the global mean sea level is rising with acceleration in recent decades due to the increasing rates of ice loss from the Greenland and Atlantic ice sheet, as well as continued glacier mass loss and ocean thermal expansion. The ocean is absorbing most of the carbon sink, making it much more warmer than before. The impact of the warming ocean means there will be increase in the incidence of tropical cyclone, winds and rainfall. Increase in extreme waves with relatively sea level rise accelerate extreme sea level events and coastal hazards. The fish production is also expected to decline. While the sea level has risen globally around 15 centimeters during the 20th century, it is currently rising more than twice as fast, 3.6 mm per year, and accelerating. The sea level will continue to rise. It is projected to reach around 30 to 60 centimeters by 2100, even if the greenhouse gas emissions are sharply reduced and global warming is limited to below 2 degrees Celsius. In the event of high greenhouse gas emissions, it will rise to 60 to 110 centimeters. Global warming has already reached 1 degree Celsius above the pre-industrial level in 2017 due to the past and current greenhouse emissions. There is overwhelming evidence that this is resulting in profound consequences for ecosystem and people. The ocean is warmer, more acidic, and less productive. The world's ocean and cryosphere has been taking the heat from climate change for decades, and consequences are expected to be widespread and severe. So what does this information mean for India? India has the 7th longest coastline in Asia of 7,500 kilometers, stretching from the Arabian Sea in the west to the Bay of Bengal in the east. The 9 coastal states and 2 union territories have a population of about 560 million in 2014. Around 177 million people lived in coastal districts and 0.44 million lived in the island territories in India, which are considered to be the greater risk. This includes mega cities such as Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata, along with Tier 2 cities such as Surat, Visakhapatnam and Goa. While events like cyclone will be on the rise due to warming issues, salinity in crest will pollute freshwater bodies and will have huge impacts on water for irrigation and domestic use. The shifting rainfall patterns of the monsoon will have bearing for people living on the coastal areas. The fish production will decline, affecting millions of people who depend on fish production for their survival. In the last week of September, many parts of peninsular India, the coastal region and sub-Himalayan region received heavy downpour. Hyderabad and Patna have received rain unprecedented in recent history, and they barely have the infrastructure to cope with. The changes we are experiencing show us how vulnerable we are to changing a climate. Though the impacts differ between regions and states, they tend to fall disproportionately on the poor. Can we do anything to save ourselves from these extreme situations? There are different choices that range from climate proofing development programs, making infrastructure climate resilient, to adaptation options such as better early warning system, institutional innovation in tackling disasters, and the resilient livelihood practices. Combined with this, sustained long-term monitoring, sharing of data, information and knowledge, and improved context-specific forecasts, including early warning system to predict more extreme events, tropical cyclones and marine heat waves, have to manage negative impacts from ocean and cryosphere changes. The IPCC report represents the case of Surat that has been setting an example in adapting to climate change. It has been set up informal adaptation strategies independent of India's national climate policy that helps in dealing with events such as cyclones. India has already charted an ambitious mitigation plan and moving towards clean energy, which will help mitigate some of the long-term consequences. Banning of single-use plastics is a welcome step as it pollutes freshwater bodies, oceans. The choices we make now are critical for the future of our ocean and cryosphere. All live on Earth. Our future is clearly in our hands. So if you like the video, so kindly subscribe to my channel.